Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the Blauwe Zaal of the Eindhoven University of Technology. I was about to give a special welcome to Jannie Wijnen, who was supposed to represent Marine van Damme. Marine van Damme unfortunately couldn't make it today because of illness. And Jannie is stuck in a train, so she will drop in halfway the meeting that we have today. With the academic year drawing to a close, this university puts a spotlight on its most excellent students and researchers. And they're sitting over there, the nominees. The Academic Awards represent the confirmation of our university's key mission, which is to educate the next generation of outstanding engineers and scientists, and also to advance our know-how. Essentially, this is the way we serve society. We realize that our graduates may have a profound impact on our society. Technology is everywhere, and it has a huge effect on our everyday life. And in their future professional lives, our graduates will work on technologies, products, and services that we cannot even imagine today. Yet they know how to solve complex problems. Problems that are frequently associated with the grand challenges, grand societal challenges that we have in health, in energy, and mobility, to give an example. And our graduates understand their impact on society, and they take responsibility. At this university, we cherish and nurture talent. We enable individuals to grow. We provide individual support and guidance. And with the introduction of the Bachelor College and Graduate School, essentially we have opened up the whole university to each of our students and researchers. And the complexity of the problems that are being addressed requires competencies which go beyond individual excellence. It requires the ability of team play. And we encourage our students and scientists to collaborate, to cross traditional boundaries, and to explore new, unconventional ideas. That is our way to chase excellence. In short, we want to be a university where people matter, where dreams come true, and where innovation starts. And the nominees of this afternoon essentially reflect this. They've all worked on their dreams, and they've delivered amazing results. Now, the program of this afternoon is as follows. We'll start with presenting the university's Academic Awards of 2016 for the outstanding work that was done last year, in 2015. Then Professor Wil van der Aalst will give his view on the future of data science in his keynote speech, Data Science, Engineering Our Future. Subsequently, and for the first time in the closing of the academic year, the Marine van Damme grant will be presented to a talented TUE alumna. And one of the deans, Elfie Nederse, will announce the winner. But let us start with the presentation of the Academic Awards 2016. The Academic Awards highlight the best final project, the master thesis, the best design report, and the best doctoral thesis completed at our university last year, 2015. And I'm proud that our university produces so many promising engineers, technological designers, and young doctors every year. So I would like to start with the 11 nominees for the Final Project Award 2016. And I invite all of them to come forward to the stage. Please, join me. As you can see, they're all nominees with one exception. I will come to that later. Every year, each master's program nominates its best thesis for the Final Project Award. And I'm going to give each of you a certificate in recognition of you, being the best of your graduate program last year. That, ladies and gentlemen, by itself is already an outstanding achievement. And concerning the procedure, all nominees will be mentioned in alphabetical order, and thereafter I will announce the winner. Rianne Konijn, Innovation Sciences. She couldn't make it because she is on vacation, I think, and she's represented by Gemma Lensering. Some of the nominees either have found a job elsewhere and already outside of the country, or given the vacation period that we're entering, some of them couldn't make it to this event. Some of them are represented and some are just not here today. Lisanne Krommetijn from the Built Environment. Marcus Kanser, Industrial and Applied Mathematics. Eline van Haafden, Life Science and Engineering, represented by Keita Ito. That explains Keita. Bjorn Joos, Chemical Engineering and Chemistry. Thomas Kamps, Industrial Engineering. Astrid Pietersen, Computer Science. Frits de Prenter, Mechanical Engineering. Alice Rijmakers, Electrical Engineering. Francesco Toretti, Applied Physics, but he's unfortunately abroad. And Jelmer van der Wiel, Sustainable Energy Technology. I will now give you the individual certificates, and then we'll come back for the actual winner. Ja. The jury wishes to express that it was truly impressed by the very high quality of all final project theses that were nominated by the graduate program directors. The selection of the winner's thesis was a unanimous decision by the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, with much pressure, the winner of the final Project Award 2016, so that is the best master thesis from last year, is Eline van Haafden, represented by Keita. Her thesis was entitled The Initial Repair Response of Articular Cartilage After Mechanically Induced Damage, and was supervised by Dr. René van Donkelaar, who's abroad himself, I think, and Professor Keita Ito of the Orthopedic Biomechanics Group in the Department of Biomedical Engineering. The jury said about Eline's work, Eline van Haafden's graduation work contributed to understanding how osteoarthritis or joint wear develops. She managed to develop an experimental in vitro model of which bone and cartilage could be kept alive in the laboratory for a sufficiently long time. She was able to find a way to challenge these tissues mechanically, to induce mild tissue damage, and to carefully monitor the repair response by the cells over time. As you've seen, Eline is not able to be here today, so in her absence, I will give the award to you, Professor Ito, and I'm sure you'll be happy to pass it on to Eline. Professor Ito, I would like to invite you to give a brief presentation of the final project of Eline, and I invite the other nominees to return to their seats in the audience. And I will join you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. As Frank mentioned, unfortunately, Eline couldn't be here today to accept the award personally, so this is the next best thing.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here, especially because I cannot be present today as I'm traveling around Norway right now. I was already so honored to be nominated for this award that I didn't consider winning as an actual possibility. And yet it happened. But not without René van Donkelaar. René, I want to thank you for your curiosity, your creativity, and your critical attitude throughout the project. Of course, I also want to thank Professor Keita Ito for his supervision and for being here. Keita, the stage is yours.
So let me tell you a little bit about Eline's project. It's about articular cartilage, or kraakbeen, and that is this thin white tissue that covers our bones inside of our joints, like the knee. And what it allows us to do, it allows us to actually transmit very large loads from one bone to another bone in an almost frictionless manner. Now, over 150 years ago, William Hunter had this quote, and he said, "From Hippocrates to the present age, it is universally allowed that ulcerated cartilage, once destroyed, is not repaired." Now, the consequence of that is that our cartilage, our kraakbeen, degrades with age. And we call that condition arthritis. What happens is it usually starts with a very small defect in the cartilage, like you can see through this arthroscope picture. And then it spreads. The quality of the cartilage basically degrades, and it finally wears away. And I'm sure that many of you know people who suffer from arthritis, and they'll tell you how painful it is. Now, interestingly, this quote was thought to be true for many, many decades, until about a decade ago, we started to understand that cartilage might possibly be able to repair. And so Eline's project was actually about characterizing this initial repair response of cartilage after overloading. So what she did is she started off with the knees from pigs. These are healthy knees, and from them she cored out cartilage plugs. And then to these cartilage plugs, she applied an extra high amount of force, an overloading, which would be similar to me jumping off a ladder, landing on my feet. And then she cultured those plugs for 9 days to see what would happen. And this is what she found. So immediately after loading, what she saw using fluorescently labeled antibodies is that directly under this site where the load is applied, you see this, which is a lot of collagen damage going on inside the cartilage. And at that same location, she noticed that the cells were dying. Here, this green stains living cells, and the red stains dead cells. Then she waited 2 days later, and she looked at the healing response. And what she noticed is that these living cells, they actually mount a healing response. They turn on genes which are necessary to produce new tissue. But then 9 days later, she couldn't find any new tissue. In fact, she saw that there was a loss in the tissue density, as you can see here by this less orange staining of the overloaded samples compared to the natural samples. So what Eline found out is both bad news and good news about arthritis. What she found out is the bad news is that if you overload your cartilage, you will damage it. The good news is that the cells respond. They try to heal the cartilage, but again, the bad news is that under normal conditions, this is insufficient. And her observations also support the fact that the progression of arthritis is probably related to damage accumulation. Now, there's a hope from her study, which is that the cells may be able to respond and may be able to heal the cartilage, and our challenge in the future is going to be to figure out how to harness that response so that we can reverse the damage that osteoarthritis creates. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Keita. Where are you? Oh, there. And congratulations, Eline. I hope that you'll be able to watch this live on our webcast. We now continue with the Design Project Award 2016, and again, I invite all the nominees to come to the stage. The TUe Design Project Award goes to the best design project for one of the technological design programs of the Stan Akkermans Institute at our university. As in the case of the master students, I'm going to give each of you a certificate in recognition of you being the best designer program last year. And the nominees are Martine Bol, qualified medical engineer; Thierry Caboose, automotive systems design; Ellie Kloeze, clinical informatics; Tjaitje Masinov, software technology; Argyrios Papadopoulos, smart energy buildings and cities; Simona Turco, represented by Ruud Slaun, because he couldn't make it, design of electrical engineering systems; and Lok Chan Wang, design and technology of instrumentation. I will first give you the certificates, and then I will announce the winner. So the jury has evaluated 7 design reports written by these nominees. The jury has seen a continuous improvement of the quality of these theses submitted during the past years. And the quality of the work done by the candidates that you see here today was again high. But the decision had to be made, and the project that best met the design criteria. So it's with much pleasure that I'm now announcing the winner of the Design Project Award in 2016, Won Jok Wan. Oh, sorry, I first have to give something about this thesis. Sorry about it. His design had the title, Feasibility Study of Improved Acylation Plant Designs, and was supervised by Professor Wart Cotard. And I've seen Wart in the audience, I think. The main topic of this project was the design of a new plant for acylation of wood. And the project covered 2 phases. Phase 1 involved the investigation of various new concepts for solving bottlenecks in the current process operation. In Phase 2 involved the actual process design of the concept that was selected in Phase 1. The design is well documented and the design process is well described. The end result meets the objectives and has a positive impact on the overall process operation. The jury truly congratulates all selected candidates for the Design Project Award, and especially the winner, Mr. Won Jok Wan. I hope I pronounced your name. So I now invite you to give a brief summary of your project. Looking forward to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's my great honor to be able to stand here and present my design project. First of all, I want to thank the jury for selecting my project, my coach, Professor Whitewater, for your continuous support. At the same time, I also want to express my gratitude to the company, SS Technology, giving me the chance to carry out this amazing project. The title of my design project is Feasibility Study on Improved Installation Plant Designs. And yes, I fully understand that it doesn't mean anything to you. So the most unfamiliar term to you would be installation. It's a kind of chemical modification to improve wood quality. SS Technology has developed and commercialized a unique proprietary installation process to treat softwood. Softwood is a renewable resource and has very low carbon footprint. However, there are some problems of using softwood, including deformation and being prone to decay. During installation, the hydroxyl groups in wood fibers, which are deemed responsible for the problems, are replaced with acetyl group. And acetyl wood exhibit excellent dimensional stability and class 1 durability, meaning that it can be used for both interior and exterior application, or even for structural use. And this beautiful bridge is built with the installated wood from SS. This is the current main production facility of SS located in Arnhem. Because of the exceptional product quality, sale has been increasing ever since commercialization, and the production capacity of this system is reaching a limit. So there's need for expansion. As it is the first built mass production system of the company, SS want to see if there's the possibility of getting a better design. And my assignment is to come up with a new design concept for the production system that can lead to major improvement in terms of production cost. The first thing I did was to formulate several applicable design concepts in a systematic manner. And then we go to step-by-step selections. We have to look for evidence to support go or no go for each design concept. Gradually, we come to the most promising design, and then we go to the details of that one. At the end of the project, I deliver a new design concept to the company, and the improvement is expected to be threefold of the target value, meaning that it would be a really promising design and can support the sustainability of the company. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
The last category of the Academic Awards is the Doctoral Project Award 2016, so the Best PhD Thesis Award. And I would like to invite the nominees for this award to join me on stage, so that I can present the certificate to each of you as well. Please, join me on stage. Simona Assali on Applied Physics. Xizheng Zhao, Electrical Engineering and represented by Ye Tian. Stefan and Elze, Mathematics and Computer Science. Paul Gardien, Industrial Design, and I remember that thesis because I was part of the committee. Brian Janssen, Biomedical Engineering. Francesco Maresca, mechanical engineering, well, unfortunately couldn't make it because he's abroad. Irene Nix, industrial engineering and innovation sciences, and Iris Vural-Guursel from chemical engineering and chemistry. Certificates first. Yeah. So the jury was given the task to select 1 out of 8 nominations, and the tasks were described as follows. To quote one of the jury members, "It was not comparing apples and oranges, but much closer to something like comparing apples and screwdrivers." That shows you the breadth of all the things that we're looking at. Nevertheless, the jury came to a surprisingly fast and unanimous decision this year. So it's with much pleasure that I present the winner of the Doctoral Project Award in 2016, which will be handed out to Stef van den Elzen. The thesis was entitled Interactive Visualization of Dynamic Multivariate Networks, and was supervised by Professor Jacques van Wijk and Assistant Supervisor Dr. Holton from Cinescope BV. The thesis, according to the jury, was very well written and also graphically well designed. The thesis addressed not only a scientifically sound and fundamental matter to the topic, interactive visualization of dynamic multivariate networks, it did this in a very comprehensive manner that included user studies and also a clear perspective on application areas outside of the scope of the thesis itself. Therefore, the jury concluded that this thesis definitely deserved the title Best PhD Thesis of 2015 of this university. Congratulations.
Thank you for the nice introduction. So I'm very honored and proud to have won this award. First of all, I would like to thank some people. So I'd like to thank my supervisors, Jack van Wijk, Danny Holte, and Jorik Blaas, for their great support over the last years. My project was a collaboration between Cinescope and the TUE. And while I was doing my research, I was employed as a software engineer with Cinescope. So I would like to thank Cinescope CEO Jan Kees Bunen for giving me the opportunity to do research. And finally, I would like to thank my friends, my family, and my girlfriend Esther for their continued support. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you will not be surprised if I tell you that we live in a connected world. We're connected with our phones, via social networks, and via email. Financial transactions make up a huge network of complex interdependencies. Cities are connected by roads, railroads, and through the air by planes. Now, there's a few things that these networks have in common. They're all very huge, they're all complex, and they change over time. And we want to understand these networks. How and why do they change? See specific behavior, find generic patterns, and see how things influence each other. Now, if we take a standard approach, then we end up with a hairball like this, from which we do not get any insight. So during my research, I developed tools and techniques for the exploration and analysis of these networks. Now, I won't go into detail, but here you see an impression of some of the tools and the techniques that I developed. Visualization and interaction both play a key role in all solutions. It is really an interplay between the human and the computer that gives you this insight in these complex networks. Now, these insights can be used for better policy making, detecting fraud, or finding key events or key people in the network. There is one notable example that I want to share with you, which is the work that we did on mobile phone traffic in Ivory Coast. So here we had 2.5 billion mobile phone calls between 5 million users of the year 2012. And in this year, Ivory Coast was in heavy turmoil. And we were able, by just looking at the variance in network traffic, to detect events like violent attacks and clashes between communities and power outages. And this helps policymakers to get a better understanding of the socio-economic state of the network, of the country, by just looking at the network. And it also helps emergency facilities to act faster. Now, do we only use it for communication networks such as these? We also use it for financial services, to detect fraud, to monitor and analyze cybersecurity, critical infrastructure, and to link open data. So with these tools and techniques, we make the invisible visible to better understand the world around us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very strange coincidence. I didn't know who the prize winner was, but I saw him 2 days ago in the Evaluon. And I was standing, I think, 4 meters above him. And I was yelling, "Will you win the prize?" And he said, "I don't know. And if I would know, I cannot tell you." So this was at the European Data Forum, which is probably the largest conference on data organized by the European Commission. We were the organizers this year. This was in the Evaluon. And this was all about data. And of course, data visualization, as we have just seen, is one of the very important elements in data science. So I would like to talk today, I was invited to talk today, to tell more about this emerging discipline of data science. And I've prepared some slides for it. I know it's Friday afternoon, so please bear with me. So I would like to sketch a bit what the evolution has been of the field of engineering by taking an example, and that is how we make photographs. So if you look at the timeline, we have been shifting from analog to digital, and I would like to talk about the implications about that. So this is the oldest preserved photograph that exists. So the first photographs were made around 1800. This is dated a bit later, and that is how we made photos. And it was only for the people that were extremely rich or that had a lot of resources that could make a photograph. Then about 100 years later, there was a new development. Kodak made it possible for ordinary people to make photographs. So he made this Kodak, which is this box, which was relatively cheap to make photographs. And more people started using it. And Kodak as a company grew and grew. As it said here, in 1976, Kodak was selling 90% of all film which was being sold on the world. And so they had a monopoly. And despite the fact they had this monopoly, they were innovating, and they built this first digital camera. And if you can see, there is like a factor 1,000 in terms of megapixels with the phones that you have now in your pocket. And although they invented it, it was basically the end of the company, because they got lots of competitors which were not interested in selling film, but interested in selling digital cameras. So in around 2003, we saw that more digital cameras were being sold than normal cameras. So that was a turnover. And then things went very quickly, because this was a transition from analog to digital. And just a few years later, in 2007, we saw smartphones, like, for example, the first iPhone that you see here. And very soon after that, we were selling more smartphones than we were selling digital cameras. And that happened in just a few years. And then we got other devices like an iPad. Today, I still find it astonishing. My children cannot imagine a world in which there was no iPad. Our house is loaded with it. And yet, the iPad 2, which was the first one that was sold at a larger scale, was only introduced 5 years ago. And so this has been an amazing development that today we think it's normal. Everybody should have one, but it is actually very recent. And it is not just that things get digital. We also, through these digital devices, we also get new types of applications for making photographs. So, for example, making images of your skin to see whether you have cancer, and all kinds of other applications that we see coming up today. So if you look at the app stores, they contain, if you add it up, more than 3 million different apps. So this has been the development that we have seen, and this is typically referred to big data, this exponential growth of data. And this is changing everything. It is changing science, it is changing business, but it is also changing the life of an engineer. An engineer has to be able to deal with large amounts of data. So you can look at any device. Here I take a phone, but you could also take the production system of Van der Lande. You could take the X-ray machines of Philips. You can take any device, and it is producing data. And these data may relate to things like health, mobility, social things, consumer behavior, and are a rich source to find out what people really do and how devices really work. And if we think about this, we see that a new discipline is emerging. So if we look at this university, we started a computer science program, I think in '82. And we were able to start such a computer science program because we had mathematicians that got interested in computer science. And probably the most famous scientist that worked at this university is Edgar Dijkstra. For example, he's the person that invented the shortest path algorithm that you use when you have navigation, but he invented many, many different things. And that was the start of this new discipline. When he left, I started my studies here. You see a picture of a few years ago. I started my studies, and I was probably one of the first professors in computer science that actually studied computer science. All my predecessors studied physics or mathematics or something else. So I can see how this field has been developing over one generation, and I feel that today we have another development, and that is this uptake of data science. And as the director of the Data Science Center in Eindhoven, I am trying to contribute to this new development. So data science has its roots in mathematics, of course, statistics. It has its roots in various fields in computer science, but also many other places. So I would like to talk a bit about this field, but before, perhaps for the people from outside, I think it's good to mention that at this university we have this Data Science Center, which was established in 2013. And here we try to make an effort to make it visible to the outside world what kind of capabilities this university has in this area. That's the goal. It is not just research, as you could see by the picture. It's also about educating talented students that take on these data challenges that we see in the upcoming years. So one of the things that happened is that we have started many master programs already in the area of data science. They are already up and running. As of September, we will also start a bachelor program in data science together with the University of Tilburg. And there will also be a new master program which will take place in Den Bosch, because this is a neutral place where Tilburg and Eindhoven can come together. So here you see a picture, like there is this old monastery. There used to be many nuns that lived there. They handed it over to the data scientists. And what you can see, for example, the chapel that you can see there is in the process of being converted into a lecture hall. And it will be a very interesting ecosystem where students, companies, and all kinds of things come together in the field of data science. Why is this possible? This is possible because there are many young people that are interested in using data. They would like to do things based on reality, on facts, not just on fictional things. And industry is fighting for people that have such skills. So for example, if you look at the tax department, on the one hand, they are firing 5,000 administrative jobs, people that have administrative jobs. At the same time, they are trying to hire 1,500 data scientists. But of course, it's impossible to hire so many people at this point in time. So there's a big need for industry. So there are many ways of defining data science, and I'm not going to read this out loud. But it's always a bit silly to debate about definitions. It would have been as silly as to try to define what mathematics is or try to define what computer science is. It is not that useful. But I would like to highlight, let's say, a bit my personal flavor related to this definition. I think what we should see, it is very broad. I don't like, for example, people working in data mining or people saying in statistics, we are the data scientists. I think we need to bring multiple fields together. So it's broad, but at the same time it is quite specific. If people do not use real data, they are not doing data science. There are many people talking about these things that have never touched a real data set. So they are not data scientists. It's not about data that we are going to produce in 10 years. It's about doing things with the data that we have already today. And it's about providing real value. So extracting value from these large amounts of data. So then we get this interaction between reality that is creating all kinds of data, and then we have these different disciplines that come together to provide insights, decisions, models, and all kinds of other things. So that's the goal. If I try to characterize it a bit deeper, also linking it a bit to things that are happening at this university, you can roughly cut up the area in 3 different chunks. So one chunk is related to infrastructure. This is about getting the data, having the computing infrastructure to do these very large things. The second part is related to analysis. Once you have this data and you have this infrastructure, how can you turn this into visualizations, for example, as we have seen before, or decision rules, or things that are useful. And the last but not least, there is the area that is concerned with the impact of data science. So if we look at data science, it's not just about doing analysis. Once you do it, you get into ethics and privacy. You get into business models that are completely different. For example, EDF, this conference that I mentioned earlier, where there were 1,000 people, and the CEO of Philips was giving a presentation there, and you can see that Philips is embracing this vision that data will become incredibly important. So that's something that we will see. So the effect, impact is another element that is very important. To make this a bit more tangible, we can, for example, take a look at Google. I don't think that I have to tell you that Google is impacting our daily lives in many different ways. It is impacting business, it's impacting everything. So we can see the effects. But what many of the people in the room do not know are the technologies that are behind this that make this possible. And so Google started as a company simply because there was a research in Stanford that found out the PageRank algorithm that led to the foundation of this company. A smart way how to determine that certain web pages are important. Why could they then grow? They could grow because they were very smart. What they thought, we should not try to buy very expensive computers and just a few of them. No, they had the idea, let's buy very cheap computers, but let's try to buy many of them so that we can scale just by, if we need twice the capacity, we just buy twice the number of computers. And that is only possible because of algorithms like MapReduce. So these technologies, they made this possible. It was not the hardware development only, it was also development in terms of software and algorithms that made this happen. As I said, I did not know who the prize winner was, but if you look at my next slide, you can see there the logo of Cinerscope, which is a very interesting coincidence. So another example is the SAP ecosystem. So if you look at SAP, many of you know it from the ERP system. Most of the organizations run on SAP. But what they also did is that they started investing into a very powerful infrastructure to do in-memory computations and in-memory analysis. So that is enabling all kinds of things that before would take days, you now get results in a second. And that is enabling lots of analysis questions that we had before. And also companies like Celonis, which is in my own field, process mining, but companies like Cinerscope can use these infrastructures, these systems, to do these computations instantly. And I could give many more examples. So at the conference where I was referring to, there was the head of analytics of Spotify. So if you all know Spotify, Spotify has 100,000 users. And Spotify is recording how many times you have listened to a particular song. So now imagine a matrix with 100,000 columns and millions of rows for every song. And they're doing computations over these matrices to determine what kind of songs you like. And it's all this mixture of these different disciplines that I was just referring to. So what is the landscape at this university? So we have these three areas that I just mentioned. The Data Science Center, let's say, tries to cover and to connect all these different areas. It is orthogonal to the strategic areas. So, for example, you find these questions in health, in mobility, in energy, and many of these things have become data-driven. And also, if we look at high-tech systems, of course, the high-tech systems of today, they are basically computers with hardware. If we look at applications in industry, the same story, you can see it everywhere. So it's used everywhere, and that is why this is incredibly important. Many people refer to this as the new oil. They say this is the new oil of our generation. It is always said. If it is the new oil, then I think one of the things that we should be concerned about as university and as engineers is that we can avoid these types of pollution. So if you look at the concerns in society, people are incredibly worried about privacy issues, discrimination based on data, and all of these challenges. So what I think that we should do is we should come up with positive solutions, technological solutions, to prevent these things from happening. In my view, we don't succeed if we just create laws that forbid us to use data. I think we should protect people by building technology. Just like the way that we focus on green energy, with green car, we should think of forms of green and responsible data science to avoid the pollution that was on the previous slide. To come to a conclusion and to bring you closer to the drinks, a small recap. So I explained you about this discipline that is now emerging, the same as computer science emerged in the 80s. We now see this is the decade where data science is emerging. I try to structure the field a bit for you. I try to indicate that this has a huge economic value. If you look at the biggest companies of the world, you will see that many of these companies are very young, very recent, because they managed to create value from data. That is why they exist. At the same time, I think there are great responsibilities for us as engineers to protect people from the negative side effects of data. Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elfie Nelissen, and I'm the chair of the jury who appoints the winner of the Marina van Damme Award winner, Marina van Damme grant, I must say. It's a pity that Marina van Damme wasn't able to join us this afternoon because of a flu, but nevertheless we are very happy, of course, that Jannie Wijnen represented her today, and she will give the grant to the winner today. I would also, of course, would like to give a warm welcome to the chairman of the University Fund of Eindhoven, the Eindhoven University Fund, and Erik van Schagen. Very warm welcome to you as well. Eindhoven University of Technology is keen to give a career boost to female engineering graduates or PhDs. The Marina van Damme grant is a nudge in the right direction for them. The grant is worth €9,000 and is intended to deepen or extend knowledge or provide international orientation in the shape of a study, traineeship or project. Thanks to Marina van Damme, the grant can be awarded each year by the University Fund of Eindhoven, which also donates an incentive award of €1,000. So that's what we are going to do today as well. So we have two winners. A big and a small winner, maybe you should say. Every year the jury evaluates applications for the Marina van Damme grant, taking into account four things. And the first is the personal significance for the respective candidates, the link with business and industry, other social or societal relevance of the topics, and originality or practicability. Of course, you must be able to use the things you are doing and you want to do. And these four things we took into account as well, of course, as a jury. The quality of the submissions was exceptional. What the jury finds remarkable in the applications is that the engineers are more T-shaped, with interests in diverse areas of expertise, yet also have a specialization. So that's a combination of expertise and broad interest. Maybe that's a little bit a strong way of what female usually intend to do, both broad and go into the depth. Two projects stood out, and maybe we will see the pictures of them. The first one, the project of Maaike van den Bome, and the one of Lisanne van Oppen. They are both here. I didn't see them yet, but they are somewhere here, I hope, at least. And I would like to invite them to come forward to the stage and to give a short pitch of their application plan. And we do the presentations, to be clear, in alphabetical order so that the winner is not known yet. So the first one is Maaike van den Bome, but please both come forward. Also, Lisanne van Oppen, please.
Hello, I am honored to have the possibility to tell you about my project. Currently, I am working at GE Healthcare as a clinical application specialist. And in this position, I'm helping hospitals to use the new imaging techniques that they have in hospitals in a better way. So they use all the capacity that the equipment will give them. One of the newest imaging equipment that's on the market right now is the hybrid PET-MR. It's a really good piece of imaging equipment because you can have anatomical, functional, molecular, and also DNA processes imaged at the same time. The problem, though, is that we don't have the knowledge and the expertise within the Netherlands. So we don't use this imaging technology yet to the fullest. So that's the reason why I got in touch with the first site that had the PET-MR. It's in Boston, and that's the Martinez Center of Biomedical Imaging. In this center, Harvard and MIT work together to develop new techniques or use the combined knowledge to use the techniques that are already existing in a better way. When I contacted them, they asked me to be part of their research team. And currently I have my position at GE Healthcare. So I have to quit this commercial job to go into research with them. I'm going to do research to this hybrid PET-MR technique for cardiac diseases. This is also a big problem in the Netherlands because of the increase of obese and diabetic patients in the Netherlands. So with this technique, we might be able to predict the risk of getting a cardiac disease and eventually prevent them as well. Because if you know which people, which of the parts of the population will get the disease, you can help them preventing to get it eventually. Hospitals in the Netherlands are, of course, eager to get the knowledge from Harvard and MIT into their own site. So one of them, the UMC Groningen, already offered me the possibility, after my stay there, to implement the new knowledge in their hospital as a start. So eventually, I don't see it only as a personal chance to go to Harvard and get all this knowledge and come back to the Netherlands. I also see it as a chance for the Netherlands, for the Dutch healthcare, for the Dutch citizen, to finally have access to this new imaging technique. So I would be honored if Marina van Damme can support me as well in this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Maaike. Maaike van den Bomen is he has finished her master in biomedical engineering, and she finished just last June. And her goal, like you have seen, is to make PET and MRI available for such Dutch patients, and the combination between them is very special. And now I'd like to give the floor to Lisanne van Oppen, and she's currently a PhD candidate at the Radboud University and Medical Center at Nijmegen, and she graduated in 2014 at the Department of Biomedical Engineering on regenerative medicine and technology. And her goal is to improve the production of medicine on a nanoscale. And you will tell it yourself. Okay, Lisanne, the floor is yours.
Mitochondria are the powerhouses in the cells of our body, and they are responsible for the production of all the energy in our body. So this means that defects in mitochondria are also related to a lot of different diseases, such as cancer and neurodegenerative diseases, such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. In Nijmegen, we are developing mitochondrial drugs, but obtaining the Marina van Damme grant would enable me to really zoom in at the nanoscopic level of cells, to really look into the mitochondria, to visualize whether the drugs we are developing are able to perform damage control here. And for this, I would use a technique called super resolution microscopy. This technique has been awarded 2 years ago with the Nobel Prize, so it's really an emerging technique, and it's still not available in every lab, obviously. So I would visit the Institute for Bioengineering in Barcelona to study the patient, the cells of patients, and to see whether the drugs we are developing really can enter these mitochondria. So using these technical skills and putting them in this clinical setting would really be an invaluable experience for me. Thanks.
And now I'd like to present the findings of the jury, but before I do that, I would like to invite Janje Wijnen and Erik van Schagen to the stage. And this is a picture of Marina van Damme herself. Like she was present every year for every grant, but today it's a pity she's not there, but Janje is there instead of the first winner of the grant. Well, first, the jury did have some findings, and the plan of Maaike van den Bomen is exceptional because she combines the PET scan with imaging, which is extraordinary, and she implements renewal. She scores strong on the aspects of entrepreneurship. She creates a unique position for herself between industry and science. And that's what a grant is about, and that's why her plan was so good. And the plan of Lisanne van Oppen is exceptional because she moves between two disciplines, builds a bridge between chemistry and medicine. The implementation of her plan will enrich her career tremendously, we think at least. It's strongly supported by the Institute of Bioengineering of the Catalonia and Professors Schmeiting and Van Hest of Radboud University Medical Center. So she has a strong recommendation and also implements renewal. You can understand that it was almost impossible for the jury to choose between these two applicants. It's always difficult, but this year it was extremely difficult. A deciding factor was the fact that the winner is a smashing candidate who is currently in a very exciting phase of her career that deserves to be confirmed. The Marine van Damme grant will certainly be of great use to her. And I'm going to announce now who is the winner, and I would like to ask Jannie Wijnen to give her and hand out the grant to her. The winner is just one of you, and it is Lisanne van Oppen. And of course, Mike is also a winner, and Erik van Schagen, the chair of the University Fund, will hand her the check as well. Well, and there's only one thing to say left for me to say, and that I really wish the two candidates every success in future. Thank you very much.
Well, Lisanne and Mike, many congratulations on my behalf as well. By the way, we have some super resolution microscopy in the ICMS as well, so you might actually take a look at that. Give it a try. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now coming to the final of this meeting. If you're interested in the projects that have been awarded, you can find a description of that on the website, and I can only encourage you to have a good look at it. You may have noticed that this is not really a formal academic event. I'm not wearing a gown, nor is any of my colleagues wearing a gown. I do wear a tie, but it's about time to take it off. I will do so, because it's party time. In a few minutes from now, we go to drinks, and we are having a special event, what we call Professors on Stage. Some of the professors and even some of the board members and friends of us will give a special performance and showing some of their most loved music. I'm not sure whether it's the most loved music, but at least the music that they're being instructed to play at that time. I also would like to point out to our alumni that if you haven't done so, the Alumnus Avenue is open. And if you want to sign your name in the glass, please take the opportunity and put your name on it forever. So it's now my pleasure to invite all the academic award winners, as well as the Marine van Damme Grant Award winners, to join me on stage and take a picture. And for you, all the audience, if you want to go to the Professors on Stage event, please take that exit. Be a little bit quiet, because there's still some students that are taking their exams. It will take until 6, and there will be another set of exams after 6 o'clock. But I can assure you, in the marketplace that we have, there's no issue at all there. We will just have fun, have drinks, have some food, and enjoy the professors on stage. Thank you very much.